welcome back again. Thank you very much for listening. This is Far From Centered. I am your host, Robert Lewis, and with me, as always, is Mike Dawson.
Hello.
Today, we got a pretty special episode for you. We got a blog that I did this week. I saw something on the news that really kind of started my crazy brain going, and we actually got my friend Terry back to talk about it again this week. Had some scheduling nightmares, but we've got a little bit of a clip for him to come in and talk about it. Now, I want to start off and say that we're going to have a little bit of a format change. We're trying to figure out the best way to do this for you guys right now. I think this is the most democratic thing you will ever find. So if you have ideas about the format, if you like the way the first couple episodes went, if you like the way this one goes better, whatever, go to the Facebook page, go to farfromcenter.com and let us know. Our end goal here is to put whatever it is that we have out to everybody that we can possibly reach. We're trying to get America and the world to expand their mind a little bit and think about things more than what you're hearing from CNN or Fox News or anybody else like that. So our end goal here is to get as many people interested and talking about these issues as possible. So if you like it, if you don't like it, if you think one's better than the other, let us know. Drop us a line. Go to farfromcenter.com or facebook.com farfromcenter podcast and let us know what you like, what you don't like, and what you think about it. So today we're going to be talking about something that I saw in the news that really kind of got my loins burning. Maybe that's the wrong word.
Loins burning.
It got something burning. I don't know what it was, but it got something burning. And I wrote a blog about it last week on lovemewhenimgone.com.
Which people should subscribe to. How do they do that?
You can subscribe to the blog. If you go to lovemewhenimgone.com, there's a media/blog section where I put media, whatever TV or radio I'm on, promoting that book and USA Cares and everything else. But it also has my blog. So there's a little section on the left side where it says, if you would like to know more, subscribe to this blog. And you can put in your email, and every time I update the blog, you'll get an email automatically. Or, of course, you can listen to Far From Centered podcast, and you get a little bit of an update because my blog and my voice aren't too far away.
Well, sometimes the written word is quite a bit more concise.
Yeah, and it gives me a chance. I get to flesh it out a little. I'm a writer.
Right,
you know, obviously
right.
I write. I'm writing books. I wrote Love Me When I'm Gone. I'm working on 4 more books right now, and I've got another 20 chambered that I'm going to start writing as soon as I can find time to do it. But that's my niche. I have a lot of crazy ideas. My brain goes a million miles a minute, but some people can speak it and put it across better when they're talking. I'm just better at getting my full thoughts out there when I write.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Everybody, potato.
Lots of us are. I think the only one who's not is Adam Carolla.
Yeah. I love the click, 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 click sound every time they do the record. Yeah.
Every time he's typing.
But so today we're going to be talking about something that really struck me as odd, and it's the TSA that's just came out and said they're going to allow knives, bats, lacrosse clubs, and things like that, all these things that they've outlawed back on planes. Now, if you read Love Me When I'm Gone, you'll know my dad was a pilot. My dad was a Navy pilot before I was born, and after I came into the picture, he left and went to the commercial sector, and he was a pilot for Air Florida and then Southwest Airlines. So anything that has to do with pilots or airlines really, really hits close to home with me.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons 9/11 was such a big deal for me. Not only was it 9/11, but also for a couple hours there that day, I was terrified thinking my dad might have been on one of those planes. So I was walking through the break room at work, and I saw the chief of the FAA on the news explaining why he had come out and decided to allow knives on planes.
Okay.
And it didn't sit well with me. I don't know. There's certain things that I see and it just doesn't connect. It just does not compute. Whatever answer they're giving for whatever action they've done doesn't really make sense to me. And this was one of those that rang very, very true with me when I saw it. For the first thing, the pilots and the stewardess unions, which are big players in the airline industry, are vocally against this idea. The reasoning that the head of the FAA gave for allowing these knives and basically weapons on planes again was because he said he wanted to allow more bandwidth, basically. He wanted the TSA screeners to be able to focus only on bombs No more, worrying about
Right,
knives
right.
and
Okay.
bats and things like that on planes.
They say no one's going to take down a plane with a 2-inch blade.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the big thing that gets me about that. So my dad was a pilot my whole life. He loves Swiss Army knives. So exactly what they've just said are allowed back on planes.
Okay.
Now, his whole career, every Christmas, he would ask for nothing more than a Swiss Army knife. Why would he need one every Christmas?
My kind of guy.
Because every time he got on a plane, or every time he went to go get on a plane, they would take away his Swiss Army knife. He was just one of those guys. He was a Boy Scout. He was an Eagle Scout. He was in the military. His dad, my grandfather was Army. Everybody, all the males in my family are military. So he just had that in his persona, that he always had one of those little knives with him.
Okay, to clear it up really quick, though, the Swiss Army knife that you're talking about that they took away was not the 2-inch blade that they are now going to
It was.
outlaw. It was.
It was the basic. It wasn't the big, doodad, everything under the sun, a keg tap on the Swiss Army knife. It was the tiny, buck standard Swiss Army knife model.
So they've always taken these knives away, and now they're going to
From them.
Now all of a sudden,
That's what's not computing with me because
I think we need to look that up.
And the thing that used to get me with him is that pilots have they have a backup. Basically, if the airplane crashes, they have a way to get out of the cockpit, and it is a very large blade. It's like a battle axe underneath the seat that can cut through the metal that makes up the plane. And he used to always get so mad about the fact that they're taking away this little 2-inch Swiss Army knife, but he had a battle axe under his pilot seat. And it never really made a lot of sense. It didn't make any sense to me. And now it really doesn't make a lot of sense. So the basic idea is that they're going to allow these on planes now. And I got to talk with my friend Terry after he was on the show last week. And, the two of us, when we talk, we just kind of, we butt heads on a lot of issues, but we see the world in a greater perspective. And I'd like to lay out a little bit kind of why it is and why I look at the world the way I look at it. And I like to call it higher order thinking. A lot of people in the Army call it knock-on effects, but it basically, in the end, says when you look at a situation, if I'm going to do cause A, if I'm going to do something, I shouldn't look at what the first effect that's going to cause. So if I'm going to do something right now, like if I'm going to walk outside of this door and light off a bottle rocket, I shouldn't think about what that's going to do, me lighting off a bottle rocket making a lot of noise. I shouldn't be as concerned with what that is going to be as what's going to happen 5 to 10 effects down the road. So I should be more worried about where that thing's going to land, what damage it's going to cause, and what it's going to do there than just the fact that I'm going to light off and make a lot of noise. Now, in my current job, we utilize a thing called lean management. Lean management has a thing that's called the 5 whys. In the 5 whys, it basically teaches management that if you have a problem, you should never stop at asking why once, because if you fix the first why, you're never going to fix the actual problem. You're just going to fix the superficial issue. So there's this great, every lean management textbook you look at will have this great example of Toyota and an auto line, right? So on the auto assembly line in Toyota, there was oil leaking on the ground one day. So if a manager goes up to it and sees oil leaking on the ground and asks, why is oil leaking on the ground? And they say, oh, there's a hydraulic line right there that's leaking. If they fix the hydraulic line and that's it, they'll never fix the root cause. So if you ask your second why is it leak? Why is that hydraulic line leaking? Well, there's a cheap seal in it. Well, okay. Why do we have a cheap seal in there? Well, somebody in purchasing was told they should focus just on the cheapest thing. Rather than actually looking at quality, they should just get the cheapest one they can find. Okay, why is that? Well, in the end, you get to the fact that management is more concerned with or the bottom line than they are with quality and the end result of safety to the people. And that's just the way I approach life. So that's why my brain goes a million miles a minute when I see things that don't add up. And politics these days, nothing seems to add up. So when I saw this, my brain just started going crazy and saying, why would they really be doing this? Because this whole idea that he's allowing knives and weapons on planes just because he wants TSA screeners to focus only on bombs. Well, okay, let's assess that first why. If they're allowing knives on planes, screeners don't pick up knives. Metal detectors pick up knives, right? So It's not taking that much bandwidth away from the screeners. Lacrosse sticks and bats and golf clubs I don't think it takes a whole lot of bandwidth for somebody to pick that out.
To identify a set of golf clubs.
Yeah, and that's not. I don't think that's the biggest issue. I've been traveling for quite a while. I was in Germany. I lived in Germany for a couple of years. With the Army, I was just traveling all over the place all the time. I don't think people are that upset about knives and weapons on planes. I think they kind of get that. I think in this whole post 9/11 traveling world,
I agree.
Yeah, people get it.
Big deal. Okay.
Now,
I can't bring my knife.
Yeah,
now,
I can't bring my knife.
When it hurts, if I have to travel somewhere to do an engineering gig, I like to bring my Leatherman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh yeah, me too. Yeah.
You can't bring that anymore.
But you can bring it.
We knew that.
You can put it under the plane.
You don't carry bags.
Yeah.
I don't carry bags. I'll carry on. Check bags. Sorry.
I got 2 kids and a wife, man. Can't travel without it.
Right. Well, then you can take it. You can take your Leatherman.
Yeah. But I always have to put my Leatherman in there. And I think the general public got that. Now, the public is kind of pissed off about the shampoo thing, the laptop thing, the shoes, taking up your shoes every time thing, which they don't do in Europe anymore.
Yeah, it seems. I'm sorry to cut in, but it really seems to me that this is a colossal mistake because what we are doing is allowing people to bring certain weapons on planes where there could possibly be some damage done.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But we're not focusing on 4 ounces of shampoo that maybe a woman is trying to get on a flight. She's got this conditioner that she loves. She can't do without it, but it's, there's too much effing conditioner, so they won't let her through. But this guy's got a blade that's 2.36 inches, so he's clear.
Yeah, and that was one of the big things that got my bells going, is if they were going to do something to appease the public and make it easier on screeners, what is what we call the low-hanging fruit? Like, what would be the easiest thing to take off right there and go, We'll take this and we'll make people happy.
Liquid.
And we'll make it easier. Liquid.
Can you liquidly mix a bomb when you're sitting in aisle in seat L3F?
Well, there was.
Can you mix a bomb without getting caught?
The guy from Detroit, that was the thing. The guy that was on the Detroit plane from Amsterdam, that was the underwear bomber. That was his deal, because there are a lot of chemicals out there where if you mix the 2 chemicals together in the certain mixture and in the certain place, they will form some kind of weapon.
So you can.
But again, if you're going to look at that, so we still allow liquid, but we limit it to 1, because every one of those requires a second agent to actually turn it into that, to basically turn it into a bomb. It requires something to be put together, because if you just have one little bottle, it's going to blow at some point, and you can't really measure that as well as it would when they put it together.
So theoretically, someone could be traveling with what they call shampoo and what they call conditioner, but mix those 2 together and blow up a plane.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's...
But to do that, if you got to look at it, you got to have 1 container of chemical A, 1 container of chemical B, and then a 3rd container to mix them in. So there are a lot of other ways they could put this together and fix the problem, rather than allowing knives on planes, or hit the computer thing, or taking off the shoes. There's a million other, not a million, but at least a dozen other low-hanging fruit they could have taken care of before allowing weapons back on planes.
Okay.
And so that's what really made my mind start going, what's their goal here? What's the real goal here? Because what they're telling me their reasoning is, it just does not ring true with me. It doesn't make sense. It's making my spidey senses go nuts. So it didn't make a lot of sense. And so I wrote a blog about it. I talked to Terry about it. Terry was going to be in here today to talk about it, but we just had a scheduling nightmare. That's just the way Los Angeles is. If you're going to do something, you got to add an hour of traffic time if you're 5 miles away.
Right.
It's just the way it is. So we couldn't get together on the call, but we actually got a 5-minute clip of him talking. So we're going to do probably the best thing you can do when you're having an argument with somebody. Not argument, but have a disagreement with somebody, and we're going to play his clip. And I'm going to get to rebut his points without him being here to refute my rebuttal. So it's great because if you listen to the last show, he has a really good take on a lot of these things. He's a very intelligent guy. He's got a lot of experience. He's a veteran, OIF, OEF. He's been around the block a couple times. Very intelligent guy. And it's good to hear a lot of his points because I know I'm a little crazy. I know I go kind of off the beaten path sometimes, and my brain does go too fast and writes checks that, like the Top Gun quote, my mouth writes a lot of checks that my butt can't cash. But he's got a great way of refuting anything that I say, and he doesn't mind calling me an idiot. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, here it is. This is Terry, a good buddy of mine, former veteran OEF, and this is the conversation we got to have before we started this podcast, and here we go with his thoughts on the subject.
I'm for them allowing this shit.
Really?
I had many awesome points to it that was going to refute absolutely everything you said. So,
what time are you done? No, it'd be stupid to do it that late tonight. Yeah. So did you guys record it? Do you have like a recording of it? Or you just have it, written down?
I got it right here.
All right.
Box cutter. So are you for it or against it? For it or?
I'm for them allowing knives on planes.
Okay.
Basically, here's my point in about 2 minutes. It's about the size of a knife that's on your corkscrew thing. It's tiny. Mm-hmm. They still have box cutters banned. Every expert in the TSA agrees with that. This is a smart thing to do. Basically, their prevention is stopping planes from becoming missiles into buildings or shit like that.
Yeah. And
a knife isn't going to do that with the security doors and with passenger vigilance since 2001. Your crap about basically setting up Obama, setting up the Republicans for failure or whatnot. I think that's silly. If you look at who the TSA dude is, like his background, I don't see where you're coming from that angle. And the previous dude before this guy still backs up the current TSA director. What I think we should be doing is, if anything, questioning knives on it is how will it actually it could make it less efficient because there's going to be a lot of confusion at first. Mm-hmm. And my big question is if there was any consulting with the employees or the union beforehand to trying to war game this thing before they put it in place. And I think it's going in April.
Yeah.
A big thing I have is I talked with you before, Rob, about perception of risk. Mm-hmm. How many times has this happened? Like 3 on 2001.
Right.
How about we devote our effort of the government instead of debating this bullshit and have it devoted to something that's actually pertinent to what's actually a risk, mm-hmm. like people driving or just stuff that's actually killing people in large numbers and not this just freak out like, oh, if I go in the ocean, a shark's going to eat me. This right. Perception of risk. It's fucking gay. Uh-huh. This policy matches up with a lot of other foreign countries. So it kind of makes international travel easier and less confusing for any other international travelers. I had a point about U.S. public needs to do its part. It's like, hey, fucking TSA isn't going to protect you from everything. You Rob, you want small government and shit. Yeah. Well, how about fucking people fight terrorists themselves and not put all their hope in fucking terrorists or in the government?
Yeah.
Congress, they're yelling at the TSA. They're like, you guys can't do this, blah, blah, blah. All right, Congress, if you don't like it, if you don't like it, pass a law on it. Don't just – Congress basically said, TSA, we want you to change that. But they haven't passed a law for it because Congress can't pass a fucking law because they're pieces of shit.
Right.
So if the fucking country doesn't like it as a whole, I'm not against it, but pass a fucking law. Just don't sit and bitch about things like we always do.
Right.
And if TSA wants to focus on anything and we should be debating anything for TSA, maybe commend them on a good job that nothing's happened and maybe tell them to put some focus on how to use your fucking cell phone on a plane. Because I flew 830 hours in my Apache texting the entire time and I never fucking crashed. And I use my phone. I never turn that motherfucker off, and I still haven't crashed. It's a retarded fucking rule.
All right.
Terry, out.
Out later.
All right, love you guys. See ya.
All right, later, bro. All right, Terry, we love you too, brother. Thanks a lot for your input. Thanks for putting that in. Thanks for disagreeing with me because I think it makes this all a lot more interesting. So before we get back into the rebuttal of all of Terry's arguments, I want to go in and send some quick love out to Onnit, our first sponsors, and they're the first ones to come on board. They're supporting the show, so thank you very much to those guys. If you want to try out a little bit of Onnit, click through the banner on farfromcenter.com, and you can get some Alpha Brain and supercharge your brain. You can get some New Mood and supercharge your well-being, or you can get some Hemp Force protein and supercharge your body. Again, these are some of the best supplements I've ever tried. They stand behind their product so much that if you don't like it, you can send it back for a 100% guarantee, or you don't even have to send it back. You can just tell them you didn't like it, and they'll send you your money back. So
I've been meaning to ask you about this, the Onnit stuff. Tell me more about the increased energy product.
Yeah, so they have a couple different things. The first one is Alpha Brain, which is energy for your brain, essentially. It's like it's a supplement for the enzymes in your brain that helps your brain communicate with itself better. And you can get a lot of the science behind it. You can go into the Onnit.com website. Again, if you're going to go to Onnit, click through the banner on farfromcenter.com under support the show. It really is amazing. It's called the Nootropic, and it basically is like a multivitamin for your brain. That's the best way to put it. And after taking it for 3 days, you'll feel the difference. It's amazing what it does. You think more clearly. You think faster, better. For a guy like me that just my brain is always going, I can tell the difference in the creativity of my thoughts and how well I can think something out and put the pieces together and just let my brain kind of go. It's an absolutely amazing product. It's great. And then they got the New Mood, which I love. You know, if you read Love Me When I'm Gone, you know that one of my biggest troubles was sleeping after leaving the military, or even after my first deployment. Since I've been taking New Mood, I've actually been able to sleep again. I've been calmer. I've been kind of a better person, and it's great. I can't sing its praises enough. Go click through the farfromcenter.com banner and go check out Onnit. They got some great stuff.
Now, I'm sorry, you did mention something about increased physical energy.
Yeah, well, they have a ton of different products. The main ones that I've been talking about are Alpha Brain and New Mood and Hemp Force Protein.
Well, tell me about the Hemp Force Protein.
Hemp Force Protein, and a lot of people get freaked out about it.
I'm curious. I'm not trying to sell anything.
Yeah.
I am on the clock 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
And anything that can help me stay on the clock and active and producing,
yeah,
I'm interested in. So I'm genuinely interested.
Well, and that's, people have been behind protein shakes for a while now because it's a lot better than, eating a burger or eating something like that, because you're getting the essential amino acids that you need and you're getting the protein that you need. That's one of the first things my publicist told me before I started going on radio was, about 30 minutes before you go on, you got to get some protein in your body, because it really does. If you get that slow burning protein, it helps kind of feed your energy throughout the day.
Okay. Like
most people notice, if you eat 3 meals, if you follow that typical dietary standard of eating like 3 big meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you have peaks, where your sugar intake is going up and down, where you'll eat a big meal and then a half hour later you're just comatose for a little while and you're kind of out of it. And so lately people have been getting into that ideology of, eating the 3 meals a day, not making them as big, and having a protein shake between the two, especially the people that work out a lot. And hemp protein is one of the best. It's the easiest digestible for your body, and it's an extremely efficient source of protein for your body. Now, a lot of people get freaked out when they hear the word hemp. It's just something that's been going on in this country because we have criminalized it.
Let's save it for another show.
Yeah, well, people don't get the difference between hemp and marijuana. There is a difference. Same basic plant, but hemp has a lot of great qualities. If you drink hemp protein, you're not going to test hot for marijuana. It's a completely different thing. All the basically ingredients in marijuana that would make you high or make you test positive on a test, on a drug screen, aren't
Okay, so
they're not there in hemp. Yeah, it's completely different thing.
It's easily digestible protein.
Easily digestible protein.
And how is it taken from on it? Is it in pill form? Or?
It's protein powder, just like it's a protein shake, just like any other protein shake.
Okay.
But it actually tastes good. It mixes better. Some people use water. Some use coconut water. Some use milk. You make your smoothie, and it's crazy because I bought stuff from GNC for the last 2 decades, and it never mixes right. It always kind of you can see it split if you leave it there too long. You don't drink it immediately. Hemp Force protein actually mixes great. It stays mixed. It tastes great. It's easily digestible, and you don't smell as bad after you take it, because that's a big part with the regular GNC stuff. Is you get kind of gassy, you get a little nasty. People don't want to be around you that much. Hemp protein.
I didn't know that. I'm new to this stuff.
Well, it's one of the great things about hemp protein. Like, your body wants it. It mixes with your body better than all this genetically engineered stuff that comes straight from a laboratory. It comes from a plant. It's good for you. It tastes great. And it has amazing benefits. So
okay, sweet. So I'm going to go to farfromcentered.com and lovemewhenimgone.com, and I'm going to buy On It products there.
Yeah, and they're great. Again, if you're not happy with them, you can write into the company and tell them you weren't satisfied. You get your money back.
And use the name former Staff Sergeant Robert Patrick Lewis.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. Actually, use the checkout code RPL, which is a little bit easier to remember.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So we're going to go into a little bit of a
Terry.
Terry, yeah, it's the best argument you could possibly have with somebody is when he's not here to refute his own argument. So I'm going to go into some of the points you guys just heard, and I'm going to refute a little bit of my perspective of it. And you heard what he thought about it. Again, wildly intelligent guy. He's got a lot of experience. We just see things a little bit differently, which is the whole point of this show. So one of his first points is that it's got a tiny knife size that's approved. He's saying box cutters are still banned. The TSA experts agree that it's a good thing. And this is one of the big things that kind of strikes me still is he's saying with the new security doors on the planes, it's not really an issue because people still can't get into that pilot's into the cockpit. And passenger vigilance, he thinks, is one of the big things that we should kind of be ready for.
He was big on that. And that does make a lot of sense that if somebody pulls out one of these knives, there are at least 6 dudes on that plane that are going to take them out.
But that's being seen through the lens of OIF veteran, a military vet, that, we see things a little bit differently. And, if there's 2 guys raping a woman in an alley and one of us walks by, we're going to go help. But you got to understand, with the state of the world today, that's not true for everybody.
We're talking about fat America.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way I got to look at a lot of these things. I can't look at it the way I would look at it. I got to look at it from regular Joe Schmo. 90% of the people that are on that plane, you got to think. He actually brought up the example of 3 different planes on 9/11 when that happened, and that's the only time it's happened since. Well,
which on paper is a damn good point.
It is. It's a great point on paper, but you look at that. Even out of those 3 planes that it happened on, only 1 fought back that we know of. So you look at how many people were on each of those planes. Only 1 of those planes had enough people on it to get together and go, no, not on my watch.
That is true, and that's a low batting average.
That's a pretty low batting average, and just look at just the state of our society today. Like, how many people do you think would get together? I mean, if you look at it statistically, do you want to bet on that? I mean, do you really want to bet on people standing up and taking it out and not just going, well, somebody else is going to do it, or, this is all going to work out, or...
I'm sorry, it just came across my mind, is a lot of those flights from New York to Florida.
Yeah.
That's not the one you want to be on.
Yeah, no kidding. Or, or the ones from... my wife and my family and I have flown a lot of the cross-country trips because my family lives on the East Coast. They moved away from Texas and moved over there. We live here on the West Coast now. And a lot of those flights, when you have Los Angeles-based crew, like they couldn't care less.
I would say percentage-wise, on the flights that you have the best chance of having that group of people to take out a terrorist act, any flight to Alaska.
Or within Texas.
Or within, okay, yeah. I'll take that.
I mean, that's the story of how Southwest Airlines started. Herb Kelleher sat down at a bar in drew out Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio on a map and made a triangle and said, we need this airline. And I guarantee you, between any of those locations, if you tried to hijack a plane,
Sure, yeah.
no, not on my watch. You're going to get.
I believe that it will not happen in Texas.
Yeah, somebody's going to pull a bullwhip out of their cowboy boots and send you to your maker. That's for sure. But a couple of the other points that he brought up within that first idea. So he said, it's a tiny knife size. Box cutters are still banned. I remember watching that Flight 93 movie, and I hate to say that's where I got some of this information from, but I remember that was one of their things, was some of those guys actually had these tiny knives that they're talking about, as they're like, they had the guy that had the bomb, and then they had the muscle men, and the muscle men had these tiny knives that were allowed on the plane. So these knives that have already been allowed on planes have already been used to take over a plane, and honestly, if you have a public that is already kind of worried about it and have already been indoctrinated this idea that violence doesn't solve everything, if you have a guy, it might only be a 2-inch blade, but if you have a guy with a 2-inch blade, that might be the thing that stops you.
Right. Right.
And that's what scares me. Or now if they're going to allow bats and lacrosse sticks. I played lacrosse for quite a while. I played in high school all the way through college. I know a lacrosse stick. I had a lacrosse stick made out of titanium.
And if you can work yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now I understand Terry's point. He's coming from the single, very former active duty, hardcore military background,
and that's
and a 2.36 inch blade is not going to affect him at all. He's fine.
It wouldn't affect him. I think it would be kind of like shooting a bullet at a bull running head first towards you. Like for me, it would just piss
bringing
me
a
off,
knife to a gunfight.
Yeah, but there's a lot of the public that I think would go, "Oh my God!"
But
here's
my main issue with it. We are right now ingrained with the idea that there should be no sharp weapons on planes.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody in America accepts it.
And we understand why. I mean, that's why we accept it.
And even one life of one flight attendant should be worth this very simple thing. So my question is, how is the TSA screening for these that they are taking so much of their time?
Well, and that's another one of his points that kind of brings me to a rebuttal point. Like he was talking about the tiny knife size and that box cutters are still banned. Well, if we're talking about taking less time for them to not look at knives, we still have a regulation that says a knife is only allowed to be this long. So everybody's seen them having to stop and read your shampoo bottles. What's going to happen when they have to stop and measure every knife and go, sorry, that's not 2.36 inches, that's 2.45 inches.
I'm sorry, sir, that knife has a locking blade.
Yeah, so that means we're going to have a dude with a ruler for every knife? Is that going to take more time?
That's the thing. It's like, is this the lunacy that our government has steeped to?
Yeah, it's a bureaucracy. And anybody that's lived in a bureaucracy knows as long as you make a regulation, somebody's going to have to follow that regulation to the letter of the law. And we're going to take more time because now instead of just saying, no, that knife cannot come on.
It's just going to take more time and even repealing this.
But that's the entire idea, is to save time, and we're going to take more time. So that's another reason that my brain just goes, there's something else going on here. So one of the big things that he brought up was security doors. So I just happen to have that benefit that my dad was a pilot, so I kind of know that whole airline mentality. It would be one thing to have the security doors there if it was a crew of people that didn't know each other. The reality is airlines are kind of like a family. When you're a pilot, you have a certain route that you normally fly. Stewardesses normally have routes that they fly. And so these people come in contact with each other quite a bit. If you're a pilot out of a certain hub and you're a stewardess out of a certain hub, you guys are on the same routes quite a bit. So you can have a 10-foot bank vault door at the cockpit, but if you know that somebody that you've known for the last 20 years has a knife in her jugular outside of that door, it's a lot harder for you to keep that door closed than it would be if it was some random person you didn't know. And that's just the reality of logistics of airlines today, is that there's no feasible way to make it certain that nobody on a crew knows each other and just the security door is one thing, but that whole human aspect of knowing that there's a pilot inside that knows the stewardess on the outside. Once you bring in that idea that that pilot knows the stewardess has a knife to her neck, doesn't matter if it's 2 inches or 5 inches.
Exactly.
You know, that security door is irrelevant at that point because it doesn't matter how much steel is there. It only matters how much you guys know each other and how willing you'll be to open that door to save her life. So this is going to bring me to one of the other points that was kind of the main theme of me writing the whole blog was Obama setting up the Republicans. And that's the way I've seen the last, his administration so far, is he's been like a chess master. He hasn't done a lot of what he originally said he was going to do and what he got voted into office to do, but he has been insanely efficient at one thing, and that's at setting the Republicans up to do exactly what he wants and look like idiots. And this flows into something that will come in one of his further points. But he and whoever is behind him in the administration is just insanely efficient. I mean, that's what they do. They know what they want. So they set up a premise, and the Republicans have just taken the bait on every one. And as soon as they do, he makes them look like idiots. He just says, look at what you just did. Look what the Republicans did. Oh, my God, they're the worst people in the world. I can't believe what they're doing this. And that's the part that's...
Wake up, America.
Yeah, and that's... It brings on a larger problem of the two-party system and so many things that we can't get into here. But it's what he's done a great job of doing every time. Now, the last major political point that happened was the sequestration. And for the first time, the Republicans didn't take the bait. So we think. It looks like they didn't take the bait, and that's the scary part. That's the point that I'm asserting this whole blog and this discussion right here, is I think by not taking the bait, they may have actually taken the bait, and maybe...
Yeah, exactly. It's a no-win. As you said, it's very, very intelligent.
Yeah.
The people who are running this country are some of the smartest minds in the world.
And that was one of my big points.
And the less you know, the better off they are.
Information is power, yeah. But that was one of my big points, is that people don't really know what's going on, and you don't think that you know what's going on, but people usually love to assert that whoever is making these decisions is an idiot, and like that's one of my big things. A lot of my friends are conservatives,
right,
and so they immediately go, Obama, that guy's such an idiot. What a moron. I can't believe he did that. The dude has degrees from...
Look, I voted for him, man.
Well,
I wanted some change.
I honestly...
I didn't get it.
Even though I'm conservative, I looked at what he was saying at the beginning, and I part of me went, God, I really hope he means this, and I hope he can make it happen, because there were a lot of truth to the morsels that he was putting out there that need to be changed in this country. But a lot of people looked at it and went, this guy's a first-term senator. Nobody owes him anything in politics. How is he going to get this done? And that's where a lot of the fervent came from the right. But one of my biggest thing about conservatives is they like to label him as a moron, but the guy's got degrees from Columbia and Harvard. I can't remember which one's the law degree and which was the undergrad, but this guy's an insanely intelligent individual. Not only is he intelligent and smart, but he's well-spoken, and he knows how to act in certain situations, and I think he's been doing a great job. So people label him as a moron, but I got to bring this back. Adam Carolla has this game that he plays called Stupid or Liar, and it's a comedy bit, but in the end, you really should put that lens on more people in power, because somebody's either an idiot and doesn't realize what they're saying.
It's pretty much a universal thing.
It is.
Either if something someone says is totally off the board and out of whack, then that person is either 100% of the time stupid or a liar.
And so you got to break down a guy like Obama and say, okay, Columbia and Harvard degrees, is he stupid? No, he's not stupid. So what's the other side? Liar, and there are varying degrees of lies. There's white lies, there's deep lies, but there's also that idea of coercion and leading people with deception into what you really want them to do. And I think that's what he's been doing a great job of doing. There's proven...
sure, and also people don't ask that many questions.
And that's the scary part.
I fear, to keep us on track, Yeah, I fear that this is a whole nother show, or at least perhaps 8 million of them.
Well, that's what I want to do here. I want people to ask questions. So we know that the sequester happened. Republicans didn't take that bait, and they allowed the sequester to happen. So we know that all these different areas that the sequester was supposed to hit, when they had a choice to make on what they were going to cut from that certain area, they always cut the most visible cuts. So they always did the things that were going to be most visible to the public. So that is my whole kind of idea with this blog and with this idea.
Do you think that this knives on planes thing can be almost simplified down to what's... I mean, it's not part of a budget. It's the TSA. It's a whole nother agency, yet it's a federal agency.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really dare ask this question, but do you think that there are political groups out there who are saying, you know what, let's let them get knives on planes and see what happens?
Unfortunately, that's exactly what I think it is. I think it is the administration saying, okay, so Rahm Emanuel, who is one of Obama's best friends, closest allies, he has that quote that's widely touted in the conservative circles saying you can never let a good tragedy go to waste. So that's one part of it. But my whole idea, or the thing that I'm terrified to ask is, are they sinister enough to maybe not cause a tragedy, but allow and put into place the things that would cause a tragedy? And I think they are, because if they do allow a tragedy, so if Republicans allowed sequester to happen, which was originally Obama's idea, they let it go in, and they had it happen, what can he do from that? What can he gain from that? Well, so they let sequester happen. Okay, so you could essentially say it's bad for Obama because his constituency is hurt a lot more from the sequester than they are. But if somebody gets on a plane with a knife and takes down a plane, and Obama can say this happened because sequestration forced us to reduce the budget of the TSA, which forced us to allow knives on planes so they would have more time to focus on the important stuff, it's your fault. So even though Republicans didn't take the bait and allowed sequester to happen, he still circles it back and hits them. So it would have been a lose-lose, no matter what they would have done. And God, hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm drinking crazy sauce and I'm just going nuts here. But that's what I see. From that logic, I talked about the logic that I used in the beginning of the show. That's the way I see the world. And so when A and B don't match up for me, I just start looking at all the inlays. And I don't look at what's going to happen next. I look at what's going to happen 10 steps down the road.
I like this.
I don't, man. It terrifies me.
No, I like this. I like hearing you talk about this.
Well, that's... And people call it crazy.
There are no coincidences.
Well, I do not believe in coincidence. I do not believe there's such thing as coincidence. And it's just the way that I think, and unfortunately, it's the way the most sinister people in the world think.
Wow.
Because nobody's going to see reaction one. When reaction one happens, people go, "Oh yeah, obviously that was it." But most people don't ask enough questions to connect the dots between cause one and reaction 10. Most people don't ever ask that many questions and don't tie that together in their brain. That's unfortunately the way my brain works. That's just the way I've been taught and trained my whole life, and it scares the hell out of me. So there's a lot of other points that Terry made, and maybe we'll get to him in another one. Maybe on the next show we can get him in here and we can argue about the whole thing.
Yeah, this ain't done. This ain't done.
This is not done. But that's the brunt of it. If you want to know more about it, you can go to my blog at lovemewhenimgone.com, click on Media Blog, and it will take you to the blog and everything that I said. Go to farfromcenter.com, and there's links that'll take you there. And also while you're there, buy something on Amazon, buy some Onnit supplements. And if you go and click the Audible banner now, you can get a free audiobook. Oh, it would be a great audiobook to listen to?
Yes.
Love Me When I'm Gone. It would be a great free audiobook to get through your Audible membership. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and I want to let you listen to a phenomenal song. It's one of my favorite songs. This song has probably one of the best quotes I've ever heard, and it says, "I sold my soul for nothing, and nothing's what I got." So go ahead and listen to "Sold My Soul" from Mike Amabile and Run Over Twice, and enjoy.
it's gonna be forgot. I sold my soul for nothing, and nothing's what I got. I sold my soul for nothing, it's gonna be forgot. I sold my soul for nothing, and nothing's what I got. Nothing's what I got.
Okay, so welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that track as much as I did. That was Mike Amabile and Run Over Twice with Sold My Soul. Again, they're up for the 2013 Texas Music Awards for the Album of the Year with Open Your Eyes, Lead Male Vocalist of the Year, Mike Amabile, and Lead Guitarist of the Year, Charles Peters. Again, I love these guys, and I think I lied to you in one of our first episodes when I said you couldn't find it on iTunes. I was wrong. You can actually find the album that is from. Just look up I Met Jimmy, and you should go through the farfromcenter.com website, go to support the show, and there's a little Amazon link there. There's actually an Amazon music link specifically for that. So you can pick up all the music from Mike Amabile and Run Over Twice. They do our intro and outro with I Met Jimmy. That was Sold My Soul by them. Now I'd like to go into one of our bits that we do every week. My brother Robert Johnson, who is a Scottish Rite Freemason who's gone through all of the degrees, or he's gone through all the York Rite degrees. He's now going through the Scottish Rite degrees. Has his own podcast called Whence Came You, which is very popular, and he does a weekly segment called Famous Freemasons, where he tells us a little bit about some of the other great Freemasons who have helped contribute quite a bit to society, this country, and humanity in general. Today we're going to talk about Samuel Colt, who, as a Texan, is one of my great brothers because he supplied all the weapons to the Texas Rangers. And, of course, if you're a Second Amendment supporter like I am myself, maybe an NRA card-carrying member like I am myself, you'll know a little bit about Samuel Colt, and you'll enjoy. So have a listen. Here is Brother Robert Johnson and our weekly Freemason.
This is Brother Robert Johnson, host of the podcast Whence Came You and managing editor of the Midnight Freemasons website, bringing you this week's famous Freemason. Samuel Colt, born July 19, 1814, was an American inventor and industrialist from Hartford, Connecticut. He was the founder of Colt's Patent Firearms Manufacturing Company, now known as Colt's Manufacturing Company, and made the mass production of the revolver commercially viable for the first time ever. Colt's first two business ventures ended in disappointment. His first attempt at manufacturing firearms in Paterson, New Jersey occurred during an economic crisis in the United States, leading to poor sales, and was further hampered by his mismanagement and reckless spending. His next attempt at arms-making underwater mines for the United States Navy failed due to the lack of United States congressional support. After the Texas Rangers ordered 1,000 of his revolvers during the American War with Mexico in 1847, his business expanded rapidly. His factory in Hartford built the guns used as sidearms by both North and South in the American Civil War, and later his firearms were credited in taming the western frontier. Colt died in 1862 before the end of the Civil War as one of the wealthiest men in America. The company he founded is still in business as of 2013. In 1867, his widow Elizabeth Jarvis Colt commissioned the building of the Church of Good Shepherd in Hartford as a memorial to him, and it's on the National Register of Historic Places. In 2006, Colt was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. He was a member of St. John Lodge in Hartford, Connecticut.
All right, so thank you again, Brother Robert Johnson. Every week he's going to be here to give us another famous Freemason. If you want to check him out, you can go to the Whence Came You podcast, available on iTunes. And you can also check out his apps that he has for both the Android and the iPhone to get his own and help support his show. He's helped support our show a lot by not only giving these segments, but also putting our links on his website. So go check him out on Facebook or on iTunes at Whence Came You. Again, if you like the show, I want to say one last time, you can go to the farfromcenter.com website. If you're going to buy something from on it, as I do every month, click on the banner, use the checkout code RPL. If you want a free audiobook, and you know what better audiobook than to listen to than Love Me When I'm Gone. If you click through the Far From Center website you'll get a free audiobook from Audible with a membership, and that's a great audiobook to listen to for free. Just click to the Farm Center website and have yourself a great time. Now, we're coming to the end of our show. We had a lot of great things here, a lot of great guests. Terry, very good friend of ours, and he's going to be a regular contributor now. So we're going to be talking about some crazy stuff. Hopefully, we're going to bring this one back up. And if you like this show, check us out on Facebook. Check us out at the website, farmcenter.com. And at the end of this show today, as we always do, I'd like to ask, if you have a glass in your hand, you please raise it up. And with me, give me a Berg Heil, Dea Presto Liber, and of course, God bless America.
Said you don't need money, you don't need fame, don't need people to know you.